Hello, let us look at August 2017 questions. So first we want to see this function. We need to find the value where the function is not defined. Then what we have to do is we have to set denominator equal to 0, and then whatever we find, those are the values we have to exclude. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the denominator equal to 0. Then we can factor that with x plus 4 and x minus 2 equal to 0. Then we get to realize that x cannot be negative 4 or positive 2. So therefore, choice 1 would have been the answer. All right, how about the second one? We need to expand 3k minus 2i quantity squared. So I'm just going to write them twice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to distribute each term. So what we end up getting is 9k squared for the first one. And outer is negative 6ki. And inner is also negative 6ki. And last term is 4i squared. And when you combine the two middle term, this is what we end up getting. And since I squared is negative 1, our last term becomes negative 4, which is choice 3. All right. Number 3, what I'm going to do is to find the values of x. I'm going to use the completing the square, so I'm going to subtract 4 from each side. Then what I'm end up getting is my left side becomes perfect square, as you can see over here, equals negative 4. So when you factor the left side, we end up getting x plus 1 quantity squared equals negative 4. Then x plus 1 must be plus or minus 2i. Then x must be equal to negative 1 plus or minus 2i, which is choice 3. All right. Number 4. We can do this one by hand, squaring both sides of the equation twice to figure out the values of x, but why not just use the calculator? So what I have done was I put that expression as y sub 1, and I changed the table set so that x value will be ask, and then y value will be auto. Then it allows me to, as you can see over here, plug in the values that I want. And then I realized that when x equals 2, that was the only case when my result will be equal to 1, same as the right side, which is choice 2 becomes my answer. Number 5. As you can see, 0 through pi over 2 tangent graph keep on going up right over here. So therefore, it increases without limit. Choice 3 becomes the answer. All right, number 6. Which equation represents the parabola with the focus and then directrix given here? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to sketch them first. Focus is on 0, negative 1. So I plot it around here. And directrix must be y equals 1. So it must be around here. All right. Then vertex must be right in the middle, which happen to be the origin between those two. Now, what we're going to be doing is we will realize, hey, because directrix is above the vertex, we know that parabola will come downward this way. And then p value here is equal to negative 1. Then the only thing that's possible is choice 2. All right, number 7. So given 13 pi over 20, and then we are looking for the reference angle as well. Reference angle is always with the x-axis, a positive acute angle with the x-axis. So then the only thing that will satisfy that condition would be choice 4. So therefore, 4 will be the answer. Now, number 8. What are the zeros of the function? M squared minus 4 can be factored into m plus 2 and m minus 2. And then here we get negative 10, 2 as our root. And from the second factor, m squared can be equal to negative 1. then m must be equal to positive and negative I. So choice 4 becomes the answer given. All right, let's look at number 9. So for this question, we are looking for the average rate, and then after t years from 2011. Now, then 2012 in fact becomes t equals 1, and 2014 becomes actually t equals 3 here. Now, since I'm given values are the time, what I'm going to do is I'm going to solve for v, so that it will be easier for us to calculate the v value as well. So I'm turning that into exponential form. So v over 17,000 will be equal to basis 0.8 to the t power. Then v can be expressed as 17,000 times 0.8 to the t power. Now, so then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a table here quickly, t and then v. So t are we have two values for the t, which is 1 and 3. And when you plug them into calculator, these are the values that you end up getting. So what we are trying to do is find the slope, essentially. That's the average rate of change. So 8704 minus 13,600 over 3 minus 1, which is about 2448. So choice 3, 2450 would have been the good approximation. All right. Now number 10, they want us to rewrite this one into things below over here. And notice that exponent has t by itself, so therefore what I circled over here, 1/2 to the 1 over 73.83 as an exponent, that has to be rewritten. So in other words, I'm putting that into calculator, 1/2 raised by 1 over 73.83. Then we realize that that's about 0.99. And you can see that choice 3 would have been the only possible answer. All right, number 11. In case of number 11, what you should have done was just plugging this one into the calculator, normal CDF. So that's what I have done here, actually. Let me show you. Upper is 3.7. Average, the mean is 4, and then standard deviation was 0.2, and then paste them, then you get 2 have 0.0668 will be your answer. All right. Now number 12. The question says x-intercepts are -2, 10, and 14. Then you will realize that A cannot be the answer because x-intercept in this case will be 2, -10, -14. So first one is out. Then B will be okay. Now, maximum is not at the x-intercept. X-intercept will get you when, for the cubic function in this kind of case, x-intercept is when a function is equal to 0, not necessarily the maximum value. All right. Now, and then we're looking for which of the following could be true. So when you want to sketch that one, we're going to get maximum of 56.28-ish. So therefore, maximum volume of the box could have been approximately 56. So that tells us that B and D could have been our answer. Choice 4. Alrighty. Now, number 13. So they want us to divide the polynomial by 2x minus 1. So what we're going to be doing is we can use a synthetic division using 1/2, because 1/2 is the one that makes 2x minus 1 equal to 0. So I'm putting 4, 0, 9, -5. Don't forget, because we don't have x squared term, so that's why I put a 0 over there. And first, 4 just comes down, and then 4 times 1/2 becomes 2, and then 0 plus 2 becomes 2. So 1/2 times 2 becomes 1, and when you combine them together, we get 10. And then lastly, 1/2 times 10 becomes 5. So when you combine them, the remainder is equal to 0. So we don't have any remainder. Now, but the thing is, since we use 1/2, when you divide synthetically in this manner, you have to always divide by the coefficient of x, which is 2. So our final quotient is not 4 to 10, but it's going to be 215, which resulting in 2x squared plus x and then plus 5. Choice 1 becomes the answer. Alrighty. Now let's look at number 14. They want us to find the inverse, so I'm rewriting it with y instead of f of x. And my next step is switching x and y. And that's what I'm doing over here. And then we can multiply them across. Now, then what we're going to be doing is we're going to bring the y's to one side and everything else on the other side. So xy minus y equals 2x plus 1. And now to have y by itself, we got to factor y. And then later divide by x minus 1. Then we get 2x plus 1 over x minus 1, which is choice 2 becomes the answer. All right, number 15. Which expression can be rewritten correctly? So what you can do is you can try to plug in different values, but let me just show you why first one would have been the answer. You see x plus 2 was common, so I can factor x plus 2 quantity square, focusing on 2 and then negative 8. So which two numbers multiply to negative 8 but add to 2? In fact, it is 4, adding 4, and then x plus the quantity, subtracting 2. Now, then we get to realize that that's essentially equal to x plus 6 times x. So that's why choice 1 was the answer. All right, number 16. In this case, they want us to just approximate the proportion. So this is the simulation. And then you get to realize the proportion seems to be right in the middle somewhere, which is 0.16. And we are looking for 95% confidence interval. So that means approximately the distribution would have been something like this, where margin of error with the 95% is near the tail. So we're looking for how far from the center to near the tail will be. So it's around 0.2-ish. So therefore, choice 2 would have been the best approximation of the proportion and the margin of error. Now we're looking for number 17, which one of them is observational study. So for example, when you look at choice 3, the fact that they distributed a short questionnaire, it's more like a survey than the observational study. How about the first one? Yes, they're randomly selecting people and then asking them. So you're actually, in fact, interfering with the subject. So therefore, it's not much of an observational study. Last one is we are dividing group randomly into two different groups. Hence, since you're interfering with the group, well, it's not much of observation. On the other hand, choice 2 will be the most observational study. Now, number 18, we're looking for the amplitude. How do you get the amplitude? You just have to know what the minimum and the maximums are, and then find the difference and divide that by 2. So, for example, in case of first choice, we're going from 3 to 7. Then we know that the total difference is 4. So half of that amplitude must be equal to 2. Second one is amplitude is equal to 3 because we can see that from the equation. Third one is coming from negative 5 all the way to 3, so difference is 8. And when you divide that by 2, we get 4 being our amplitude. And the last one is amplitude is equal to 5. Even though it says negative 5, amplitude is the absolute value of that. Alrighty. Number 9. In this case, maybe I'd like to sketch it a little bit so that we'll be able to see if there's any obvious answers. So now when I have when I'm trying to draw the circle, center is at -3, 0, and it's going to be around that size because the radius is square root of 8, which is slightly less than 3. Now, on the other hand, equation the first one, the line, we know that x-intercept is equal to 2, and then y-intercept is -4. You can have that by setting the other variable equal to 0. Now then, you get to see that this is around -4 and then 2, so you can see that they're not meeting at all. The fact that they're not intersecting at all, that means both roots must be imaginary. All right, let's look at number 20. Which binomial is not a factor? So what we can do is we can use the remainder theorem. So what I have done was I'm putting that into y sub 1 and noting that these are the test values, -2 for the first one, -4 for the second one, and then 6 and 7. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to use the table set, and then x value will not be order, but it will be ask, and try to figure out these values together. So as you can see, everything will get me 0 except -4. So that means since -4 doesn't work, x plus 4 must not be a factor. So choice 2 is our answer. All right, let's look at number 21. The ball is dropped from the height of 32 feet and bounces back 80%. What is the total downward distances in feet? The ball traveled up to 12 bounds. All right. So what we are assuming here is actually this question is a little bit ambiguous, but we're going to assume that first one is in fact equal to 32. Formula for the summation is a sub 1 and then 1 minus r to the n power all over 1 minus r. So what we end up getting is a sub 1 is 32 because it's coming down from 32. Now, this is how I can put it in. When you put that into calculator, you'll get 149 about would be your answer. So choice 4 becomes the answer. All right, let's move on to the next problem. Number 22. So here we are looking at they took a survey of 550 people about the election, and then we are looking for which one of them is the least appropriate to make according to the result of the poll. Now that doesn't only because about 48% of the people said they will vote for that person doesn't mean that the current mayor will win 48%. It's only one sample. In fact, if that would happen and then everybody else vote for the other person, in fact he will more likely lose it. So in fact, most unreasonable estimation would be choice 1. Now we want to simplify this one. So let's try to calculate the, let's see what's happening with -54. So when you have -54 raised by 2/3 power, this is what we can do. Denominator of 3 essentially is the cube root of -54 and raised whole thing by 3rd power. So that means I can rewrite this one as cube root of -27 and then cube root of 2 because -27 times 2 equals -54 raised whole thing by 2nd power. Then you can see that cube root of -27 is in fact -3. So when you square that, it becomes 9. Now cube root of 2 now becomes cube root of 4. So which eliminates choice 1 and 2. Because both of them has i's, when in fact I don't have any. Now let's look at y values. So y to the 4th power has been raised by 2/3 power. That means we're looking at y to the 8 over 3 power. If I have to rewrite 8 over 3, it's in fact equal to 2 and a 2/3. So therefore, that's the same thing as y squared. And then cube root of y squared, which is choice 4 would be the only possible choice. Now, number 24. So we are looking at something that's compounded annually with 1.8%, but there's a 750 deposited into the account every year. Then which one of these 4 choices can describe the pattern here? In fact, the answer will be choice 3, because first you're starting with 1,000, and then notice what we have done over here. Previous amount, whatever it was, has to be subjected to 1.018% increase. 1.018 has to be multiplied to have the 1.8% increase. But on top of the 750 will be added onto that. And following year, 750 that we just added will be part of the a sub n minus 1, which will be subjected to increase of 1.8%. So, in fact, choice 3 will be the correct answer in this case. All right, number 25. Now, so negative 8 raised to the 4 over 3 power. So that means the fact that we have over 3, that's the same thing as cube root of 8, a cube root of negative 8, and raised whole thing by 4th power. And then you get to realize that then that's equal to negative 2 to the 4th power, which is resulting in 16. So that's how we can use the properties of rational exponents. All right, number 26. So study was designed to test effectiveness of new drug, and then half of the volunteer received a. So now, in this case, what they're saying is probability of volunteer receiving the drug and then getting well is 40%. So in other words, this can be rewritten as probability of the getting drug and getting well. That's equal to 0.4. What we are looking for here is what is the probability of volunteer getting well given that the volunteer received the drug. So that means this is how I can write up the expression. And we know that to be equal to P of W and D over probability of D. Now, we know that the first one is equal to 0.4, but the second one, they divided it out into half and half, so therefore, it will be 0.5. So when you combine them together, we get 0.8 becomes our final answer. All right, number 27. We're just going to expand it and then show you that they are equal to each other. So here, when you expand the first left side, we get x to the 4th power plus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th power. We can do the exactly same thing with my right side here. We get x to the 4th minus 2x squared y squared plus y to the 4th power, and plus 4x squared plus y squared. And when I combine the like terms, these two, what we end up getting is this, which is basically same thing as our left side. And that's how we can say that they are equal to each other. All right, we're going to stop here for now, and I'll continue soon. Bye-bye.